that we're building here in Galt's Landing in St. Cloud, Florida, where we are 100% off grid. We produce all of our own food, water, and energy needs on site. And I'll give you a little view from where I'm sitting. This is going to be my daughter's bedroom, and that's going to be my wife and I's master bedroom. And we feel very blessed to be in such a beautiful place with such incredible abundance. And that's what we like to talk about. We like to talk about abundance and how to achieve it. 3.5 years ago or so, we were broke. We had spent all of our money, our fiat money, on helping people see a better way. Why? Well, because there's a lot of thunder. It looks like it's going to pour, by the way. So in case I go running inside, or in case the feed cuts out, is because we're at the edge of a thunderstorm here. So 17 years ago, I learned that the world was not as I thought it was, that the world was run and controlled by people who don't have our best interest in mind. And as soon as I learned that, being a father, at the time I had 2 daughters, I went into a state of fear, a state of concern, a state of worry, a state of bewilderment. I was absolutely shocked to learn that the government and the government systems are not always on our side. And it was really a confusing time for a while. And I think the technical term for this in medical speak is, or psychology speak, is cognitive dissonance, where you have 2 competing belief systems in your mind. And it's when they're polar opposite, it creates a bit of stress. And I recognize that that's what the world is going through right now. A lot of folks are waking up to the fact that there's some unethical people behind the wheel of our systems. And with that in mind, first of all, what I did for the next 2 years is I studied the problem every day. And for those of you out there who are studying the problem, is that making you feel good? Is it helping you become inspired, empowered? Is it helping you feel better about the future or worse? That's the most important thing I want to get across, is if what you're doing is causing you stress and concern and worry and fear and anger and rage and all of these energies, emotions, energies in motion that are below the line of consciousness, of wellness, of presence, then turn it off. Is all you need to know for sure is that you are in charge of your state, of your emotions, of your being, of your light. You are in charge. So stop counting on anybody else for the most basic thing, and that's how you perceive the world. The most important thing for me, and by the way, I've said this on this show a couple of times, but it bears repeating because it's so profound. And when you get this, you'll be free, right? When you get that your mind, whatever you can conceive and believe, you can achieve. So we were dead broke 3.5 years ago, and I was walking down the road and I was crying. I was sobbing because my business had just been shut down by a government propaganda campaign that scared everybody. So businesses around the world shut down. And I had put my last bit of money after being what I considered very wealthy. I went from $0 to $20 million. So I thought I was going to be set for life. Well, when I started finding out what was going on 17 years ago, I started investing all of my resources, my energy, my time, and my money into the solutions. And the solutions are so joyfully simple. Take 100% response ability, right? The ability to respond with presence and clarity and no fear. Fear is the ultimate control mechanism. So turn off the show. There's no value in watching the news. There's no value in that, my friends. Instead, create your own story. His story is an absolute lie written by the people who control the narrative. And I'll say that again in more detail so you can see what I'm talking about. So 100+ years ago, JP Morgan, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the same families that are controlling stuff now, got together and they commissioned a group to study the most influential newspapers and radio shows and media outlets of the day. They studied 125 of them. They bought 73 of them on the spot. They bought the narrative for one reason: to govern your mente, to govern your mind, to control your mind, therefore to control your actions. Goethe said, "None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free." When I first heard that, and I repeat myself a lot because it's all it took for me to get is a few quotes by a few legends in history. And it all came very clear for me. So it bears repeating. And once you get it, you are free, my friends. So when I learned that the narrative had been controlled, everything made more sense to me. I started getting the compartmentalization of the narrative, of the story. I started going, oh my gosh, that's why everybody believes that it's okay to use, not everybody, but that's why the majority of people think it's okay to use poisons, to ingest foods grown with poisons, to drink tap water, which is laden with poisons. That's why the masses think it's okay. Why? Because government wouldn't intentionally harm us. Imagine this, my friends. Imagine there's groups of families that had been in control of their slaves, their peasants, forever. That's the way it goes. That's the way history is even written. Imagine that these folks, once they get control of the asset, and the asset, the slave, does all the work for them, and they sit on their thrones, and they're like parasites. They take the energy that you and I create. We are the producers of our world. And they siphon off a percentage of that energy so they don't have to work. Their only job is to control the mind, the energy, the productivity of their asset, of their slave. That's their only job. And if you look back on history, it's crystal clear how this comes about and how this works. So, with that in mind, it's time to be free. What is the ultimate control mechanism of the slave master, of the wicked, of the governmente? It's scarcity, which leads to fear. Scarcity and fear. Fear is the control mechanism. Scarcity is the way that they achieve the control mechanism. They point to a problem. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem and they point to it with all of their media might. and they say, look at this. The reaction is fear, and the solution is enslavement. It's giving up our rights. So I'm going to show you a little bit. Oh, look at that. You see the cattle egrets and the all of the food, all of the love, all of the energy down here. Now, this area here is what I consider ugly. This is not pretty yet. The reason we have done nothing here is because we're going to be putting in a colloidal silver pool. And on the top area, when we walk outside of off of our kitchen, it's going to be kind of more of a normal pool. At least it won't have fish in it, right? I love fish, and I love swimming in ponds and lakes. My wife and daughter, not so much. So they get a pool that has no fish in it, but it won't be a normal pool. It'll be a colloidal silver pool with absolutely no chemicals and no poisons in the pool. On the sides of the pool, there'll be plants, specific water plants like water hyacinth. And there's certain plants that dragonflies lay their eggs. Why dragonflies? Because dragonflies eat mosquitoes and other bugs. On the sides of the pool, there'll be plants like society garlic and lemongrass and Cuban oregano and many other plants that also deter pests and mosquitoes. And so the living aqua plants, the water plants, aquatic ones, will actually filter the water. On the other side of the house here, we're putting in a fountain, a water fountain, and I don't have the vision quite dialed in yet. I'm asking my wife for help because she's really good at this. But the function of the water fountain, not only will it be beautiful and eye-catching and really awesome thing to see when you drive up, but the function will also be a water filter and a water structuring system. And in the base of it, there will be sand and charcoal. They are both elements of water filtration. And then mixed into that is where I'm going to put my silver coins. As the water comes in and it moves the sand against the silver coins, it colloidalizes the water. So it'll be a colloidal silver pool where we can test it. They have these little testing things. And we will find out what the optimal silver ratio is. A lot of silver products that we buy are like 30 ppm. All right. Dr. Wolf has some incredible silver products for the brave hearts. So we're going to put these systems in where we stack functions. That's a permaculture principle. You stack the functionality of a system. And as the water goes through, it creates beauty and structure, and it cleans the water. And something very interesting about silver and parasites, they don't get along, right? So that's the first layer of the pool. Over here, we're going to have our outdoor kitchen. You see all these plants? There's peaches. We took some peaches off that tree yesterday. There's sweet potato that we just put on the ground. There's an avocado with lots of avocado. There's a mango, and I can't tell what that one is for here. Maybe a star fruit. And then there's sugar cane along the edges. This was just put in the ground over the last couple months. That sugar cane is starting to pop up, and that will create kind of a border wall for our lot line right there. Right? And the same thing over here. We've got Airbnbs over here, and we've got all these fruit trees that are in there. There's jabuticaba and plums and more avocados, mangoes, star fruit, lychee and longan plants. And that'll be another border wall for our Airbnbs, right? And this whole thing, the water will cascade down from this colloidal silver pool onto the next pond. That's where I'll be swimming most of the time. It'll be a pond with living plant systems throughout, and then there'll be some fish swimming in that pond. Fish are actually great for the water, and they also, minnows eat mosquito larvae, so there'll be no mosquitoes here. We don't like mosquitoes. Can you tell? I'm not a big fan of parasites of any kind, but I sure won't want to take them out of the system. You know, there's a very famous guy. At one time, he was the richest guy in the world. His name is Billy G. And he is now releasing GMO'd mosquitoes in multiple parts of the world. He's released, I don't know how many millions here in Florida, and he's released them in other countries. And interestingly, the diseases that come from mosquito bites after the release of these mosquitoes is going up massively. What's going on there? That's very interesting. You don't mess with Mother Nature. God, well, I grew up in Minnesota, so I use the word God. If you use Shiva or Allah or Buddha or Krishna or any other word to describe the creator of this magical realm, that's fine with me. I'm not going to hate you for using a different word because you grew up in a different place, right? So anyway, there's some very interesting things going on around the world. Again, there's no point in trying to study what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day. I know a lot of good friends who do that all day long. Not only are they missing many hours of productivity and connection and presence, and my friends, I've done this, and I still do it to some degree. I still look at the headlines, but I know enough about what's happening where I want to take my energy and I want to put it into the real. And by doing so, we've got an avocado tree there and a peach tree there, and it looks like a longan tree there and a mango tree there, right? That wouldn't have happened unless I turned off the screen and I put that stuff in the ground, right? And this is what we want you to do. Because when we achieve mass adoption, we solve all of the world's biggest problems. We solve deforestation by simply using, in fact, I'll show you something. See this? This is not a wood-framed house. This is steel. It costs the same price as wood, but it solves the major problems that come along with wood. One is that thing will last for hundreds of years. Two is no fires. Steel doesn't burn. No termites. Termites would hurt their teeth on that. And there's no mold. So we solve the biggest problems that stick-built homes bring with them simply by using a more plentiful product. And guess what? It's 90% recycled steel, and it's 100% recyclable. So it's better in every way to leave the trees in the ground. This idea of the lumber industry being sustainable is a radical lie. It is not. Clear-cutting massive forests and then putting a monoculture into that area is just the same as thousands of acres of corn or wheat or soy. There's only one way to do that, and it's unsustainable. And all unsustainable systems fail, right? So we keep the lumber in the ground. We take out the need for that kind of system by creating a new model that makes that model obsolete and ridiculous, right? So that's what we're all about. We're about following Bucky Fuller's advice. You can't change the world by fighting the existing reality. You must create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. And by the way, this is not a new model. This is the oldest story in the book. The book I'm referring to is the Bible. And I'm not a biblical scholar or anything, but we've all heard the story of the Garden of Eden, a place of incredible abundance and connection and wellness, right? So the Garden of Eden, my friends, we've been led to believe, we've been deceived to believe that it's a fantasy, that it cannot be done, that it's not for us. Yes, it is. And what I'm talking about is simply a place, we're demonstrating this. This is not a hypothetical possibility. We're doing it. Over here, and you can't see it very well, but we've already got a significant food forest that has been in the ground for 2 years. And we now have the ability with just a little, the energy on the upfront to walk outside of our house, and within 10 minutes, we have a basket full of food. In fact, yesterday, there's this one sweet potato patch alongside the road that we kind of forgot about. We just harvested 63 pounds of incredibly nutrient-dense, poison-free sweet potatoes in no time. Like 63 pounds of good food. How much energy did we have to put into that to make it happen? Probably 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of energy in 6 months ago led to 63 pounds of incredible food 6 months later. And fruit trees are even a better ROI, return on intention, right? That avocado tree, we put that in the ground. Let's say it took 20, 30 minutes to dig the hole, get some good soil, and plant that tree. Well, my great grandkids will be eating avocados from that tree, unless some wicked, some evil, or some climactic event comes and wipes it out. But what are we going to do? Stop living out of fear of something possible? Absolutely not. We're going to plan. We're ready, relatively speaking, for whatever may come. I'm ready internally, and the best way to be ready, by the way, is to know that this is a temporary suit. We are more than this, right? The number one way to create fear is to take God out of the conversation. When we go back to our awareness that we are part of something bigger than this reality, when we go back to that awareness, then it relieves us of fear. And when we then start using our resources wisely like this, it relieves us of scarcity. Now, there's a lot of people out there, and I can hear your minds going because I've been having this conversation for a long time, who simply say, I can't do that in my zone. I can't do that because I don't have the time, the money, the education, the know-how. Start where you are. Start planting seeds. If you're going to grow microgreens or sprouts in your kitchen, you could do that. If you're going to work and collaborate with a friend or a neighbor, you can do that, who has land. Everybody who wants to do this, who gets the seed of inspiration, boom, you just start where you are. 4 years ago, I was dead broke. I had a lot of bills to pay. And we're living in a rental home in an HOA community, right? And now we're 100% off grid with no debt, and we have absolute abundance all around us. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Friends, you can do this. And, well, this just popped into my mind. There are over 890 million acres of farmland in the United States alone. 890 million acres. If you create a plan, and by the way, we've helped several people do this just in the last little bit. If you create a plan, and by the way, I'm going to give you all the details. So you don't need our help, right? We're here if you want our help, but you don't need it. You can go just do it. You create a plan that shows how you will use the land, how you will use permaculture design to design, let's say, a 2.5 acre parcel. And you go and start knocking on farmers' doors and landowners' doors. And you say, here's what we'd like to do. We would like to buy this land on terms. And you don't have to have any money. I didn't have any money when we started this either. And I'll get to that in a second. So we would like to create this type of system. We'd like this to create this off-grid homestead here. And if you allow us to, and we're talking to a farmer now, then we will make a deal with you where a certain percentage of the food that is grown is yours. We will steward the land. We will make a trade And that might sound kind of tough to do, but when you pitch it right, when you present it right, some farmer is going to see the value in what you're talking about. And when you add on the fact that the Bravehearts are aware of what's happening, and the farmers are starting to become aware of what's happening as well, and then you create a little community around you. Maybe you ask for 20 acres of land, and you say, I'll buy it on a contingency. I'll just give us 6 months. Let's just take this land. They're not going to sell it anyway, probably. They have no plans to sell it. So say to the farmer, if I could, get an option to buy this land for 3 months or 6 months, I will put together a group of 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people. And then those people, if you don't have any money, those people, you attract those that do. Your job is to put the deal together. It's exactly what I did here. I was broke. So I created a plan. And what I received out of manifesting the plan, and I'm giving you every detail, like it's to the detail of how to do it. I received this homestead, this lot. It's 1.1 acres, and it's in this development. I reached out to a guy, a good friend of mine. I said, hey, I'll put it all together. I just want one lot out of the deal. And it worked. Here I am. And now many other people are following this path and doing the exact same thing. Now, if you've got money, that makes it a lot easier, of course, right? You just buy the land and you can create a community or do it by yourself. The main thing is start getting away from the unsustainable systems, getting back to nature. Nature, and which is God's design, God's creation, is infinitely abundant. I mean, you see these cows in the field, well, these fruit trees, the lake. There is so much abundance around here. There are so many resources around here. Now, again, and I don't want to push anybody away, say, but I don't have that where I'm at. Well, first of all, do you have to be where you're at? Maybe you're in a spot, like I don't particularly like deserts, right? I like jungles. I like green. I like to see this kind of thing. But even in the desert, you can do this. It just takes a little more work because you got to catch and store water. You can do this everywhere, my friends. There's no excuses of, number one, becoming present again. Take the fear, the scarcity out of your thought process. And this is a process. It didn't just happen for me. Now, for some people, they're in such pain, such suffering, such trauma that it takes that all of a sudden they click out of their ego, which is pure pain and suffering and an illusion of separation. But for other people like me, it took time, and it's still taking time. I'm still waking up a little bit every day. Some days I go a little bit backwards. That's okay. Start now. Now. There's only now. When we start now, taking a breath and looking around at what we got, and then visualizing, ideating, write down your plan. What do you want to achieve? Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So what do you want to achieve? What can you conceive and believe? Wherever you are, start by chipping away at your BS, at your belief systems, because it's all BS. It's all programs. And then start asking new questions. This is key to everything. If you are stuck in a particular thing, in a relationship, in a job, in a living situation, ask the question that is the opposite of what you don't want, right? Ask the question that leads you to what you do want. And first, you got to define that. You get to define that. You don't gotta. You get to. What do you want? Well, I want to have a great relationship with somebody who loves me. That's first and foremost on a lot of people's minds. I want to live in a place that supports life. I want to live in a place of beauty and abundance. Great. Start with whatever questions, with whatever vision you have, and then start asking questions. Create a habit, a new habit around asking these questions. How can I get to this thing? How can I step from where I am? How can I earn more wealth? Right? Let's get away from the idea of money for a second, because our financial system is designed to fail. What do I mean by that? Well, our currency, the money we use, is a fiat currency. What is a fiat currency? Well, it's a currency backed by nothing but confidence in the government who issues the currency. How many of you have a lot of confidence in the governments right now, in your government? I don't have much confidence in our government. And I know, and you could research this if you don't believe it, the average fiat currency lasts about 29 years before it completely fails. The US dollar, which has been held up by the US armies and the petrodollar agreements, has been the world's core currency, the world's only currency that can trade in oil until lately, just until the last couple of years. Now they're taking away that power, simply, they being other countries, simply by trading in their own currencies and saying, no, we're not going to do that. You know, Gaddafi and all of these guys that have been killed, Saddam Hussein, they were killed because they started their own trading outside of the US dollar system, the petrodollar system. Right? So instead of thinking in dollars, think in terms of wealth, right? Every time I get an abundance of fiat dollars, which are declining rapidly, it's decaying, right? The dollar is in rapid decay. What I mean? Well, it is devaluing fast compared to real things. You could buy an organic poison-free avocado here 20 years ago for cents, right? Now, one avocado is like $3, an organic avocado at the store, right? So compared to real value, the currency is failing exponentially rapidly. It's in decay. It's shit. What do you do with shit? You compost it. What does that mean? Take those fiat currencies and put them into something that's real right now. And do it thoughtfully, do it strategically, right? Be aware of what your other obligations are. But when you start putting those currencies into something that creates exponential value, and for instance, like that tree right there, to buy the tree probably costs us $200. And then to put it in the ground, let's say another $20 or $30, the soil and everything, let's call it $250. We got $250 into that asset, that living thing. And within a few years, that will produce us, well, in today's value of an avocado, that'll produce us $300-400 worth of avocados per year. By then, who knows? The dollar might have completely collapsed. So it might be $3,000-4,000 worth of avocados per year. And just based on the size of the tree, if we bought that tree at the nursery, because that'll double in size, if not 3x in size, in a year to 18 months. So if we went to the nursery and bought that same tree at double the size, it would be double the price. So the best assets that I love to buy is things that grow in value. And these literally grow in value. And then they can produce exponential value, right? Every single avocado has a seed. And what do those seeds turn into? More avocado trees. You know, I've said this on the show several times. You can count the seeds in an apple or an avocado, but you cannot count the avocados in a single seed. That seed can turn into 1 billion more avocado trees over the next generation, right? Because every tree has more and so on. So when we achieve mass adoption, and that's what we're all about. That's what my vision has been about for quite some time, and the mission, and it's happening at scale. We have now come together with a group of people, including Dr. Wolf and many others, to shine a light on the solutions to all of our biggest problems, and to take Martin Luther King's advice. Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. And let's demonstrate peaceful sedition, civil disobedience. Let's demonstrate the solutions, and let's live free. Right? A lot of people are scared to stand up against the system. Don't stand up against the system. Just create your own system and ignore the system. People so often are trying to yell at buildings and yell at governments. The government has failed. It has a long time ago. It has failed, and it has been holding on by the thread of enslaving and deceiving your mind to believe in it. It's time we step away from that system. Don't count on anybody but you. You're the only one who can bring peace to your heart, to your mind. It's you. You are the center of your universe. Literally. In which way is it closer? Is the edge closer? No way. You are the center of your universe. So own it. Be it. Be the change. It starts in the heart and the mind. And then once your heart and your mind are aligned, then go out and demonstrate that alignment. Raise your frequency, your vibration, your energy. And when you do so, your friends might change a little bit. And that's okay. In fact, that's just fine. But you will attract new friends that are with you in this pursuit of excellence, of joy and abundance. And this, my friends, is the idea whose time has come, stronger than all of the armies of the world. Love, and have a great day. Ciao for now. And by the way, come visit us. We're in St. Cloud, Florida. We're 100% off grid at Galt's Landing. You can check out the website. It's GALTS landing.farm. And then if you want to create a food forest, if you have a yard or any land at all, and you want to design your land to be hyper productive, we have a team of designers around the world, amazing people who can design your land permaculture style. And that website is foodforestabundance.com. Forest, 1R, foodforestabundance.com. Love and have a great day, everybody.
Welcome back, Bravehearts. This video is dedicated to the true caretakers of this planet, all the Braveheart women. It is entitled, I Am Woman. Let me just say this. I know that I am not a woman, but I want to tell you what I think about women. You are beautiful. You are smart, funny, kind, and you are unique. There will never be another like you. You are love and affection. You are never too much, but always enough. You are more precious than any diamond. You are the most amazing of all God's creations. You are worth more than you could ever imagine. Your value is more precious than all the earthly things. You are powerful. You are strong. You are more than capable of doing anything and being everything. So now you must rise to take your place by taking back your feminine power. To do this, you must take massive action in finding true inner peace and totally accepting who you are from the inside out and from the outside in. This is the most priceless gift that you can give to yourself. Feminine power is creation, courage, confidence, spirit, strength, sustenance, energy, and enthusiasm and empathy. There is an old Eastern saying that when women are respected, gods make their home. Unless feminine respect is restored on this earthly plane, Earth will no longer be our home. Feminine energy must rise above masculine energy for balance to be restored on all levels. Women are not respected. Their power has been stripped from them, along with their health, from a healthcare system that does not care for women. For women to rise up, they must speak up. They must no longer shut up or be shut down. If we intend the world to wake up, to grow up, women must lead the way and return us to nature's way and universal law, leaving man-made rules behind. For 25,000 years, women embraced their feminine power, but 5,000 years ago, women's power began to be stripped away by male-dominated religious beliefs, and this brings me to today. To add fuel to the fire, men have lost their place a long time ago when they were no longer needed to protect their home against invaders or bring food home for the hunt. Look at the condition that the majority of families are in because men do not guard the home against corporations and systems that are tearing the family fabric apart on a physical, emotional, and spirit level. To this day, women are still not being respected and are being dominated by the male ego on an emotional and physical level, as you will soon see when we discuss the health care of women. Over this 5,000-year period, violence increased against women as their power was systematically taken from them, which to this day has not been restored. The male ego declared war 5,000 years ago on the power of the feminine, and it continues to this day, as we can see in politics, religion, and other man-made systems in society, such as the medical system. During this male-dominated period, myths were created and told in ways that emphasized the use of violence against women, which led to their loss of power personally and socially. The tipping point to discrediting women was the witch burnings. These women were not witches. They were the pillars of healing and nurturing for their communities. These female healers, with their spirited nature, strong connection to community, and protection of the common folk, became too popular, getting in the way of the great religious transformation. I prefer to call it the great hijacking of the spirit, of the female spirit. This so-called great transformation was nothing more than a power play of manipulation and degradation of the female population to make more room for the male ego. An example of this is, it wasn't until July 2nd of 1928 that women could even vote. And it wasn't until 1975 that a woman could open up a bank account in her own name, and a single woman still could not at this time. These man-made suppressive rules created a great cultural shift that the world has not yet recovered from. This is what happens when you break trust. And understand something, the only currency today that I believe in is trust, and trust needs to be earned. Understand something, by the pound. So, this health manual that almost every woman uses for their health and their family's health is 3, 2, 1. Unleash your feminine power.